Today, it's moving mindsets from problems to solutions. For me, this is a really interesting technique we use because it seems really simple. Yet I got so much business when I was in Dubai I demonstrated this particular technique in a conference, and we had 40 people booked to come to my session at a conference, and 180 people turned up because of the name for this, okay? And they couldn't believe how simple it is, because what people are talking about in organizations is employee engagement. We can't get our employees to be engaged. We can't get people to take responsibility. How are you helping them to take personal responsibility? So that's what this particular topic is all about. It's helping people start to really encourage them to think for themselves. So problems seem to be part of our everyday work. While more resilient employees find great satisfaction from tackling new challenges and overcoming adversity, others find it difficult to overcome difficulties. Now, you all know the people that live in problems, am I correct? Who knows the people that live in problems? Every time you ask them something, it's always a problem. And one of the hardest things that new managers, now remember, this NLP Business Edge is all about NLP tools and techniques for leading and coaching. So new managers tend to take on everyone's problems because it's new. And a lot of new managers get isolated. We've seen this in a lot of our leadership development trainings. They become isolated and they think they're the only one that has these problems. But when you get them together in a company, in a group, all managers realize the same problems. So sometimes it's easier if someone says, can you help me with this problem? Can you help me? I've got a problem, I've got a problem. They just jump in and start solving problems for people. But what that causes in the long run is incredible overwhelm. And it makes managers feel that I'm dealing with everyone's problems and I can't get time to be strategic. I've introduced this. I've been teaching this technique for many years, but I've introduced this to a lot of as part of every single leadership development program we do. And we've seen companies change their culture by teaching people to use this really simple technique. As I said, this is a very short session, and yet we can still teach this in there. Dealing with challenges effectively make the difference between highly engaged and satisfied employees and employees seeking another job. So different people perceive situations in different ways, and what can seem really easy to one person will be a big problem for someone else. Focusing on problems keeps energy low and is contagious. It reduces motivation, productivity, and performance. Focusing on solutions keeps the energy high. So those of you who know about state change, if someone is focusing on problems all the time, their energy is getting depleted. But if someone's getting solutions or being offered solutions all the time, it's working the brain in a different way and it's producing different chemicals. Now, my apologies, I do have a bit of a throat and I'm just hoping my voice is going to hold up while we go through this. So low energy is contagious, but high energy is contagious, creating a can-do attitude that increases motivation, productivity, and performance. The more high energy people you have in your company, the more you can create the attitude and behavior to overcome challenges. So what does the word problem mean? If you look at the Oxford English Dictionary, the problem is a matter or situation regarded as unwelcome or harmful and needing to be dealt with and overcome. Other words for problems are, and I'm not going to read all these out, you can read these yourself. So you can see all these different words there. Now, there's no workbook for this. If you want to take photographs, you can. And this will be up on YouTube. But just look at these words and notice your state when you think about different words. Grief, this is just causing me grief, as opposed to, it's just a hitch. We've got a question around this. Oh, this is really a concern. This is dangerous. This is just an annoyance. So can you see all these different words create, we all know that language creates state. Depending on what words you're using, it creates state. There's no such thing. Just to check, who here is NLP trained? I know The majority is NLP trained. But if you're not NLP trained, there's something called nominalization. And all these words are nominalizations. Nominalization is just a word that is used as a noun to describe something that should be a verb or an action. So can you go to www.problem.com and buy 10 kilos? Or if you want 5 litres, I'll just have 5 litres of problem, please. No, you can't do that. So a problem it's subjective. But what we tend to do in business is drop into the problem. So actually, I'm going to ask, Vladimira, could you do this for me? Could you just say to me, Fiona, I've got a problem, but go into a big problem state when you say that.
Fiona, I have a real problem.
Okay, what's your problem, Vladimira? Now, you don't have to tell me what the problem is. What did I do there? What did you notice me doing? Yeah. I mirrored her state. I went into her state. Say it again, Vladimira, make it even stronger. Oh, I've got a problem.
Fiona, I have a real problem.
Okay, so what's your problem? Okay, so just by mirroring, if someone comes to you and says they've got a problem, and you go, what's the problem? You've made that real. You've made that situation absolutely real for that person. In other words, you've now trapped them in this situation that they're calling a problem, okay? This time, Vladimira, come to me with, and really strong, I've got a problem.
Fiona, I have a real problem.
Okay, so what's the situation?
And
you can just make one up.
I'm just trying to make
Okay, so even Vladimira just playing with that and not knowing what see how her state, we did a pattern break almost there, because instead of me going, oh, what's your problem? I actually just kept my state neutral and said, what's the situation? So I reframed the word problem to situation. So what I'd like you to do, let me just go on to this slide here. What I'd like, the word, so that these, I'll just explain this. These words describe lots of different situations, and in each of these situations, people respond differently depending on how they think about the situation. In other words, that list of all these words for problems. Before you can help someone respond to what they perceive as a problem, you have to help them move out of thinking of this as a problem and reframe them into thinking about this as a situation that can be potentially reframed. So our brains are compelled to answer any question we ask. Write that down. If you haven't written it down before, write it down. Our brains are compelled to answer any question we ask. All behavior comes from a thought. You can write that down as well. All behavior comes from a thought, but we're compelled to respond. So if I say to Colin, why are you wearing these headphones? What have I just done to Colin? I've put Colin in a situation where he's having to defend and justify himself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The minute you say why, so what happens in business a lot is someone will say, I've got a problem. So why is that a problem? I can hear my voice. Why is that a problem?
Yeah, it's aggressive.
Absolutely. Because the why equals reason or motivation. And if you ask someone, why is this a problem? The first word that jumps into the head is because. So it's a problem because. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a wee exercise in a minute in a group, and then we're going to put you in just to have a chat with each other. Asking good questions will always get great results. The better the questions you ask, the better results you get. So what I'd like you to do, if you've got a piece of paper and pencil or pen, I want you to think of a situation, think of a problem you have. And ask yourself, why is this a problem? And write down 3 reasons as to why it's a problem. So just write down 3 reasons as to why it's a problem. Now, I'm teaching you to use this technique. You don't do this first part with people you're using this technique with, you only use the second part. And just notice what's happening when you're focusing on that problem. You go, all right, what is a problem because, and then you're writing something down, and what else, and something else, and then what else. And I could sit here and I could coach you to write 10 reasons as to why it's a problem, but we don't want to do that. But because your brain has gone to the why is it a problem, then you're locked in that problem. Okay, so has everyone got three things, three reasons? Yeah. Okay, I'm sort of seeing a few nods. Okay, so what you do, you take the same situation and say to yourself, okay, what has to happen to resolve this? And you write down 5 possible solutions. Now, before you do, this is a very specific question. What has to happen to resolve this? Or what needs to happen to resolve this? That's a completely different question to what do you need to do to resolve this? If someone's coming to you in business and you say to them, so what do you need to do to resolve this? They could get quite in back because they don't know that's why they're coming to you. However, if you say what needs to happen or what has to happen, notice what's happening with your brain. Your brain is going into creative searching. And because your brain is going into creative searching, you can come up with possible solutions. So I want you to write down 5 possible solutions. And one of the solutions could be, I don't need to do anything about it. Or I can delegate it, or I can do it next week, or whatever. See how we're saying possible situations? And let me know when you've got 5. And keep saying to yourself, you don't have 5 yet, just keep saying to your brain, and what else? Because you're working with options and creativity here. And remember, this is a technique that I'm teaching to business leaders to use with their team. So we're not always looking for five options. So Gail, come to me with the problem.
Okay, the problem is our manager doesn't communicate.
Okay, so what has to happen to resolve that situation? What has to happen to get the manager communicating better? Now watch what's happening with Gail's eyes. Okay, so what has to happen?
I have tried to get him to be a wee bit more outgoing and communicate what's the problem that he's normally sweeping under the table.
Okay, so what else has to happen?
To be upfront.
Okay, now I don't want just your solutions. What else has to happen?
To be able to call a team meeting and let
okay.
everybody know and have suggestions.
Okay, what else?
Or I can just stay out of it and let him do what he needs to do.
And can you see what Gail's doing there is she's coming up. She's actually, you could see her eyes were moving as she was searching in her brain to come up with possible solutions. So if I'm working with someone, I would then say to them, if you've come up with 3 solutions, I say, which do you think is the best one to start with? So in that situation, which is the best one, Gail, to start with?
I think, to call a team meeting so everybody's on the same page.
Okay, so there you go. What you would do, what you're doing there, you're actually, someone's coming to you in business with a problem, and you're saying to that person, okay, what's the situation? And then you're asking them what needs to happen to resolve this. You're getting maybe 2, maybe 3 options. And then you can ask them, what do you think is the best situation? Now, if because of your experience that none of the situations they've come up with are a good situation, what you would say to someone says, that's brilliant. Have you considered that you could maybe also do this? So you acknowledge what they've come up with, and then you add, maybe with your experience, another way to do that. But most times when people come up, they'll be able to use what they've come up with, because no one can have a problem without knowing in their brain what the solution is. We all have resources in our head. We all know what needs to happen. But just being asked that, what tends to happen in business when we do this is we start to get managers asking this. So instead of saying, what's your problem? Let me help you with it. And jumping into to rescue, which lots of people are naturally hardwired to do. Once they start asking, oh, what needs to happen? And then say to them, okay, choose that, go with that one and let me know how you get on. The problem has been taken away from the manager or the leader. And I teach this to my business coaching clients because I'd work with a lot of business leaders. And this is the technique I teach with them. We have seen this happen so many times in organizations where we've maybe gone in doing leadership development training. We've been working with the senior management team. The senior management team has started to use this technique. And guess what happens? Their managers model what they're doing. So they start doing it with their team leaders. Then the team leaders start doing it with the supervisors. The supervisors start doing it with the guys on the shop floor. And within a few months, what tends to happen is the culture in the company changes, that it moves from a problem-focused company to more a solution-focused company, only because you have given people permission to think and come up with possible solutions. And then what starts to happen is people will then come to their manager and say, I had a problem with this and I just want to run by you. Is it better to do this or that? And every single business leader I know loves that type of person to lead. Someone who's coming with possible solutions and they're only running it by their manager to get the final approval. So it's very simple to use, but incredibly powerful. So what you're working with, so when you're actually working with this particular situation, all you do is the last part. You just, if someone comes with a problem, you say to them, okay, what has to happen to that situation? Those of you who are coaching clients come to you with a problem. Okay, I've got a real problem. Okay, what's your situation? What needs to happen to resolve that? And let them come up. And what else? And what else? And what I would do with Colin, I would then say, okay, so when will this happen with Mercedes? And then look at a timeline and then look at possible other ways of getting transport between that time of not getting the car fixed. So what needs to happen for you to keep having transit, to have transport? So there's always other ways that you can go in there. But what we're doing is, if you're teaching it to people, you get them to write down the problem, 3 reasons, the why, and then you ask them, okay, thinking of the same situation, ask yourself what needs to happen, and then what else. But when you're working with it, you're only going through the second part. And there's only 3 things have changed there. All that's changed is we have reframed the word problem to solution. And that, sorry, it's not solution. That's that's a mistake there. Situation. That should read situation, not solution. So we've reframed the word problem to situation. Change the why, because the why will give the reasons and justifications as to why is the problem to what has to happen. And you've stayed out of the problem state, because everything can be fixed. We know that. We've all come through COVID. We've all come through all sorts of things in our lives. Everything can be fixed. So it's always looking to help people come up with their solutions. And how do you think people feel when they're able to come up with their solutions? They feel good. They feel good about themselves. They feel empowered, and they feel that they feel valued. So what I'm going to do, any questions before we go into the breakout rooms? Any questions or anything you want to share? Okay, you're going to go in for, it's 28 minutes past. We finish at 1:45. Going in for 8 minutes. Okay, so just go and say hello to everyone, introduce yourself, maybe discuss a little bit about how you can use this technique, and we'll see you in 8 minutes' time. Okay, so how did you get on with that? Let's have just a little bit of feedback. What are some of the things that you were discussing? Who would like to go first?
I'll go first because
Yeah,
you came
thank
into
you,
us,
Colin.
and the natural thing is to, once you've got the what needs to happen, for me was to then go, who needs to do that, to think, go into a planning mode. And really what Fiona was then saying when she joined us was that, no, leave it there.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you do it, you're locking it down and you're focusing it
Yeah.
in. Whereas leave it there. They can do that. They know who needs and what concentration. Leave
Yeah.
it with it.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, especially when you've got what needs to happen, and someone says, "Well, we need to do this." Then you can say to them, "Okay, how do you want to organise that? What needs to happen for you to organise that?" And put that, and that's just another level of responsibility, without actually formally delegating anything. It's just helping people take more responsibility. Fantastic. What else?
The empowering element is just amazing.
Yeah, people are being encouraged to think. It's as simple as that. They're just being encouraged to think. But the important thing is to hear what people are saying, to hear and acknowledge what they're saying. And when this can be a problem is if the manager says what needs to happen, and everything that comes up back, oh no, that won't work, that won't work, that won't work. And then people just shut right down.
And so
But
it
it's
kind of opens one choice after the other, and it gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah. So what you're doing there is you've taken them out of being stuck in the problem and giving them choices. When I'm working in coaching, when I'm doing this, I might go to 5 or 6 situations. Okay, what has to happen? What else? What else? What else? Depending on what sort of coaching I'm doing. So I'm encouraging, it's almost encouraging brainstorming. Because, and I will also say, we're looking at possible solutions. We're not looking at the solution. We're just looking at possible solutions. However, when it's done in business from a manager with a team member, we're only looking for 2 solutions, maybe 2 possible solutions.
I think it also helps the people learn to just brainstorm on their own and create ideas, no matter whether they're going to work or not. It just it just opens them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it helps people on that side as well. It helps people stop taking things personally because that's another thing from new managers. If a new manager has to say no to someone, you'll hear people taking all this personally, and it's not personal. It's an idea that's come up that's not going to fit in with the organization. So so again, it's almost teaching your workforce to grow and think for themselves. Okay, so let me just share, we've only got a couple of minutes left. Let me just share this with you. We've got the NLP Business Circle Club, 3 years we've been going. I can't believe it. It's been actually going for 3 years, which is fantastic. Now it's 2 3-hour masterclasses each month. The masterclasses now are the second Tuesday of the month, 12 till 2, and the fourth Tuesday of the month, 1900 to 2100 UK time. So we've opened this up so it fits with the US and also fits with people that weren't able to come at lunchtime. Live practice sessions and coaching. I know, Dennis, you joined recently and you came on the session yesterday, and we had, 40-minute live session practice. Sometimes we've got an hour live practice. So it's a real good way for people to practice. Now, what's happened, you've got the video, audio and workbook archives right through till since 2020. And in the next week, we are opening up the VIP NLP Business Circle community. So there's going to be a community opens up on the site where you upload your own, it's like a mini LinkedIn on the site where people can actually talk to each other. And we're looking, as we grow, we're looking for collaboration. We know we've got members collaborating with each other at the moment already, but they've all been doing this through emails where they'll be able to actually go on and ask questions, and you can ask live questions. I will be coming on, there's a live video element on there as well. I will be jumping on to do a little bit like this, right? Okay, who's got a situation they want to work with? I'll come on for 20 minutes, and that will be ad hoc on top of the 2 hours. You've got 30% members discount on all my courses and my coaching programs, and it's $97 a month. Next Wednesday, we're working on managing your time efficiently and effectively. So we're going to be looking at time management, and we'll be able to give you, there'll be an offer next week on a new time management online course that we've got, okay? A self-learning one. Okay, so thank you for your time. I know it's a fast in, But hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I'm quite enjoying doing this evening one. I just think that it's nice. This is going to be a weekly evening, and it's going to be nice when I can look outside and it'll be sunny. That'll come soon, instead of being dark for about 5 hours before we started. Okay, see you all soon. And anything that you want to ask for me, just get in touch. It's fiona@theprofessionalgrowthcompany.com. Okay, take care. And if anyone wants to have a wee chat or ask me anything, I'll be hanging around here for about 10 minutes, but I'll put the recording off.